Have you ever felt like you were losing your mind? Or maybe finding something even deeper? What if your breakdown was really a breakthrough? In this raw and honest reflection, we dive into the story of someone walking the thin line between madness and awakening, where isolation, spiritual yearning, and the need for truth collide. This isn't just a confession. It's a call for authenticity in a world that labels depth as dysfunction. Are we crazy, or are we just seeing too clearly? Watch now and decide for yourself.
When the fog descended, silence settled over the village after the discovery of old Billy's departure. His notes were left stacked, serving as entertainment for the locals who chose to share them with others.
Number 010. They have always doubted my sanity, but I never let it bother me because I always knew the advanced degree of my perceptions. Always. Well, until today. Today I woke up and couldn't tell where I was. Difficult. I looked around and recognized nothing, yet I felt that I should know where my physical body was. I felt very vulnerable, scared, and tried to simply go back to sleep, hoping to wake up again as if everything had just been a nightmare. But it didn't work, and I needed some time to locate myself. It was the first time I lost my mind. Lack of nutrients? A bad night's sleep? Financial pressure? Stress because of the child? Maybe a combination of everything? I don't know. All I know is that I am truly at my limit. No matter how hard I try, I can no longer be normal. I have learned too much, lived through things that won't allow me to ignore, and this misfit feeling in the world is really affecting my health. The truth is, I have gone too far to turn back, and all that's left for me is to walk through this desert relying only on myself. Alone. Having no one to open up to without being harshly judged, no true friend who would let me share my experiences without labeling me as insane. That drives me crazy. So I live in the hope that my dead friends from the other side of this existence are watching over me and that from another angle they can see my journey. I speak to the wind, hoping someone will send an answer. But most of all, I call out for help to my higher presence, my greater self, the part of me connected to the source of all life, to take what remains of my participation in this plane and lead me towards something true. To be true. At least I cannot complain about that. Misunderstood and with no external results, at least I have been able to live according to the truth within me. But the real question is, how can this self be useful? We are pure energy. We are directly connected to the source of life. I know we don't need anything else to fulfill our direct needs, yet I still haven't found the right key to turn. Freedom. Would expanding comfort be the same as liberation? I don't know. Maybe it would be a step in that direction, but I haven't even been able to do that. Deep inside, in the core of my being, I feel that this idea resembles a grand illusion. It doesn't fully convince me. The teachings I have received have been amazing, but what I seek is to stop rationalizing everything and simply do what my soul tells me to do. To set my soul free so that this higher presence can act in this plane. My God, I have nothing else to seek or offer that is as true. All this talk about work, about success, none of it can move me forward unless I am first convinced that I am expanding life within me. My God, we are more than this game of walls and barriers, of keys and locks, of doors and windows that only open according to standardized interests. We have everything we need to build a true life. We are here in this space-time reality, we breathe and we wish to open the channels to let this greater life flow in all directions. I have already paid the price of being called delusional. I have paid for the misunderstanding and rejection, and I no longer need to cling to anything. It is time for this higher presence to show its face, its voice, its words, and its music and dance with me. I don't want any more illusions. Yes, I want victory over true limitations, not this false and petty expansion where for one to have more of the cake, another must eat less. I want the kind of victory that means making new cakes. More and more, serving, answering needs in a liberating way. I want more than just financial victories. I want mental clarity, awareness, and for all the excess light to serve as illumination for the next person's path. I'm not asking to skip any steps. I know that it is through the journey that we learn the necessary lessons. But what is the point of crossing this path if we cannot be who we truly are, seeing everything through a distorted and corrupted lens?
Hello everyone. Today I invited Dr. Ada Champ to help us with this text. She certainly brings a specific, psychiatric perspective on what may appear to be aspects of fragility or vulnerability in the characteristics of our old Billy. Dr. Ada's words clearly reflect the barriers built by what old Billy calls human concepts, which serve to marginalize and deeply isolate anyone who dares to achieve authenticity and an independent sense of direction to navigate this world.
This text is a raw and deeply personal exploration of a psychological and spiritual crisis. Here's an analysis. Summary. The narrator grapples with a profound sense of disorientation, questioning their sanity and struggling to reconcile their perceived advanced perceptions with a sudden experience of feeling lost and vulnerable. They express a desire to transcend conventional reality, seeking a deeper connection to their higher self and a purpose beyond material success. The text is a plea for authenticity and a rejection of societal norms that they feel have limited their true potential. Theme identification. Sanity versus perception. The central conflict revolves around the narrator's struggle to validate their unique experiences against societal judgments of sanity. Spiritual awakening/crisis. The narrator is undergoing a profound internal shift, marked by disorientation, a yearning for deeper meaning, and a rejection of superficial values. Isolation and misunderstanding. The narrator feels alienated and misunderstood, longing for genuine connection and acceptance. Authenticity and purpose. The driving force behind the narrator's journey is the desire to live authentically and fulfill their true purpose. Transcendence. The narrator wants to transcend the limitations of the physical world and connect with a higher reality. The search for real. The author is desperately seeking a real experience and a real purpose and a real connection. Tone and sentiment analysis. The tone is deeply introspective, vulnerable, and at times desperate. There is a strong sense of emotional turmoil, marked by fear, confusion, and a yearning for clarity. Despite the distress, there is also a persistent sense of hope and a determination to find meaning. There is a feeling of frustration with the current state of existence. Style and language analysis. The language is highly personal and emotional, reflecting the narrator's inner turmoil. The use of rhetorical questions and exclamations emphasizes the narrator's uncertainty and desperation. The text is characterized by a stream of consciousness style, reflecting the narrator's fragmented thoughts and feelings. The use of spiritual terminology such as higher self and source of life shows a spiritual inclination. Key points and observations. Lost my mind. This phrase is used both literally and metaphorically, indicating a breakdown of mental stability and a loss of connection with conventional reality. Higher self. The narrator's reliance on their higher self suggests a belief in a deeper, more authentic aspect of their being. Rejection of materialism. The narrator explicitly rejects the pursuit of material success and conventional achievements, seeking a more profound and meaningful existence. The desire for action. The narrator expresses a frustration with mere intellectual understanding and a desire to translate their insights into action. The cake analogy. The cake analogy is very powerful. It demonstrates a desire for abundance for all, instead of a competition for limited resources. The need for validation. Despite the claims of not caring about what others think, there is a clear and powerful need for validation and understanding. Possible interpretations. The text could represent a genuine mental health crisis, reflecting the struggles of someone experiencing a psychotic break or a period of intense emotional distress. It could also be interpreted as a spiritual awakening, a period of profound transformation and self-discovery. The text highlights the challenges of navigating a world that often fails to accommodate those who perceive reality differently. In conclusion, this text is a powerful and moving portrayal of an individual's struggle to find meaning and authenticity in a world that often feels alienating and restrictive. It raises important questions about the nature of sanity, the pursuit of purpose, and the search for spiritual connection.
The truth about what this text represents will be revealed as we progress through the reading of the notes. We will determine whether it is a psychotic crisis or a true expansion of consciousness. Thank you, Dr. Ada Champ. Please feel free to join us for future readings. It will be a pleasure for all of us. I would also like to take this opportunity to recommend note number 2, titled Art, Science, and the Expansion of Consciousness. This may help provide a better understanding of what guides our friend's mind.
Hi, John. Since you have mentioned the art, science, and the expansion of consciousness, please, let me read a few lines. People don't understand the parables. They don't understand the difference between figurative and literal meaning. I write desert, space, to communicate a moment, time. I write oasis, city in the desert, to communicate relief. With that, I dribble reason. Break through the resistance of certain limiting beliefs, and I signal that there is life within the things of life. In addition, I would like to register that I now understand your insistence on having Old Billy's coat collection. He is right. It is important, even necessary, that notion of being crazy in good company. At least Charles Bukowski would understand this note and respect Mr. Billy.